Okay, hello and welcome back to this cooking show. I'm Christian. I'm normally behind the camera, but today I'm going to teach you how to make the Italian sweet rolls, also known as Cuzzupa. And my nanny would usually make this around Easter time or around New Year's. And for New Year's, we make the New Year's pretzel, which would be the Cuzzupa, a lot of the Cuzzupa in the shape of a pretzel with icing and sprinkles on it. It's very good. So first things first, you want to warm up your water for the yeast. So you want to come over to the sink. What you do is you want to make sure that's warmed up by pressing with your hand. You don't want to be really, really hot, but then again you don't want to be really, really cold. You want somewhere in the middle where it's warm to the touch. So we got that, and then you want to get a little bit of water. If that's good, maybe a little bit less. And then you want to take the sugar from here. You want to mix it in here until it's mostly dissolved. So that's good. Then we're going to add the yeast in here. Just stir it around a little bit. Make sure it's all covered. And then we're going to let that sit for around 5 minutes. So while we're doing that, we're going to scald the milk. So we want to put it in the microwave for around 2 minutes on medium. So put that in there. So next we can start adding the butter, sugar, and then when the milk's done, we're going to add the milk into our KitchenAid mixer. So let's add the butter. It's just, so we're going to have a half cup of butter, which is the equivalent of normally 1 stick. So we're going to add these in pieces, so it's just easier to mix. So we're going to add that in there. We're going to add our 1.5 cups of sugar. Put this on, and then when the milk's done, we're going to add that in here too. So should have about another minute on the milk. So okay, so our milk is done scalding, so we're going to add that now. So there's our milk, and we're going to also add our 2.5 teaspoons of salt. And now we're going to mix it up on low speed to start, and we're going to make sure everything's incorporated. The butter's stuck to the end of the thingies here. Just got to make sure those get mixed up well. So that's one thing you got to make sure, is that stuff doesn't get stuck together when you're mixing, or else it doesn't, or it might become chunky or something like that. So you got to keep a close eye on that. So now the butter's mainly incorporated here, and it's melted, so I'm going to add just 1 cup of flour for now. This is just start making it more like a dough-like consistency, and more than just a liquid, so it's going to have a little bit more. I'm going to set that to mix. So once again, just start mixing on low speeds. Helps everything get incorporated nice and smoothly. And while that's mixing, you have your yeast here. It should have foamed up by now. It's a nice foamy consistency on top. This will help you show that for any type of bread that needs to rise, it's very crucial that your yeast is foaming like this, because it shows that it's alive and that your bread will in fact rise. If it's not foaming right away, it could be because your water is too hot or too cold, or that your yeast might just not be active anymore. Or that you could not have added a lot of sugar, but this nice foamy consistency on the top, it shows that your yeast is good to go. So I'm going to add that yeast now, a little bit. Yeah, all of it in there. little bit more flour. So you may notice that you get some stuff around the sides of here that's not really mixing, and that you just want to push down with like a spatula or something just to get it off there, so make sure everything's mixing. You want to do this periodically so there's not a lot of buildup, and it's just gonna make everything a lot smoother. So now it's time to add our 4 eggs. The recipe, however, it normally calls for 3, but these eggs are relatively small, so you'd use 3 large eggs or just 3 small, or 4 smaller eggs. So since we have small eggs, we're gonna have to make do with 4. So just gonna add them, trying to get the shells in there. It's 2. 3. Now for our last egg. There we go. So now we're gonna bring it back up. Let's mix it again, like a 2 or 3 speed until everything's nice and mixed up. And I'm gonna go wash my hands. So now we're going to bring it down and add a little bit more flour. We're going to add the flour little by little until it's all mixed in there. And then once we mix all of it in, then we're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes. And that'll let everything kind of, it's going to let everything incorporate and start the science behind baking. So once this flour gets mixed in there, I'm going to be switching to the dough hook here. Since we are making dough, it'd be the appropriate tool to use. So that looks about mixed. So I'm going to lower this, lower that down, get this off, so we get all the dough off of it. Put this over here. We also got to wipe down the edges again. There's some buildup. So just to get everything mixed in there. And also you can see that's also becoming a little bit more thick and thicker than it was previously. That's because we've been adding that flour. And now we're going to put in the dough hook. And now we're going to add a little bit more flour, and then mix back up, and then start using the dough hook. You want to keep adding flour once you see that the other flour is starting to get mixed in. Don't add it all at once, because that might lead to chunks in it. Not everything might get mixed as well, so it's important to keep adding a little bit by a little bit. You can see when I push on it, it's like more springy and a lot more dough-like than it was when you first started adding the flour. So it still needs the rest of the flour that I have in the bowl. And I think in total we're using around 6 cups of flour, but then again you have to add more or less based on how the texture is, and you want it to be more dough, like you don't want it to be too spongy, but you want it to be soft enough to work with, but not too soft as well. Find that happy medium. Add the rest of our flour here. So that's all of our flour. I'm just going to wait for that to mix in there. So the dough's still not the proper consistency. It's a little bit too soft. See, I can just take it with my hand and take it off like that. You want it to be more springy and have a little bit more give to it. So we're gonna add a little bit more flour. Make sure that we reach that proper consistency. More flour based on how the dough's doing with the consistency. Our 6 cups didn't do it that well, so we're going to have to add a little bit more. Right now it's starting to look pretty good. I'm just going to scrape the edges one more time and see how it's turning out. So it's still going to need a little bit more flour, but that's okay. So you can see here that the dough is starting to stick around the edges, so you want to just push it off a little bit like that. And then you're going to take some flour, sprinkle it around there so it doesn't stick to the edges that much. I'm going to do that with all the edges that where the dough is sticking. So some over there, some here, some over here, more over there. And now they shouldn't stick the edges as much. So now we're going to let the dough rest for 5 minutes before we start kneading with our hands and working with it. That's to let all the glutens and stuff develop in there and let the science really start taking place, because baking is a science. So we're going to let it sit for around 5 minutes. So our dough has been sitting for 5 minutes now. This is what it should look like, a nice, soft, elastic dough. So we're going to take it off out of here, get all the dough off of here. It's really important that you flour your hands. So we're going to put the dough hook here. That's going to be flour on my hands. So this, flour in here. You can see that our board is very flat. That's because this is a very sticky dough. I put flour on my hands, but apparently it wasn't enough, especially for this dough. So do this real quick. Get all the dough off my hands. Flour it up. Nani would always say, wash your hands in the flour. So that's what you gotta do with this dough especially. So we're gonna get the dough, turn it on this board. We're gonna get one of these, get it all out, turn it onto the board. Like I said, it's a very elastic dough. That's part of the reason why it's so hard to get out, because it just keeps stretching. Okay, so we've got the rest of the dough out of here, and we could have kept kneading it in the KitchenAid mixer, but I'm going to show you guys how my Nani would have done it, and that's just by kneading it by hand. So you want to turn it over and push it in. It's very elastic dough, so it's really fun to work with. It's soft, stretchy. I'm just going to keep turning it, pushing it, and turning it, and pushing it. One hand, two hand works. Really want the board to be, so I'm going to keep turning it. I'll work it in until it's all one. So you want to keep doing this until all the flour on the board has been incorporated into the dough. Make sure you keep flouring your hands. You don't want it to start sticking to you. Just over, push, over, push, over, push. Just gotta keep doing that for around 5 minutes. Make sure all this dough is incorporated with each other and with the flour. So it's starting to stick a little bit to the board, so you want to just take some more flour and put it on the dough so it's not sticking. You also might want to get your hands too if they start to stick. So it's just to prevent some frustration later, and also it's what you need to do. So you'll know when you're done when you still have a nice sticky elastic dough, but it's a lot smoother around the edges like this when you go to turn it and push on it when you're kneading it. So just about done. I'm going to a little bit more flour so it doesn't stick to the board. A little bit more to my hands. And then just about be done with kneading it. So I say that we're good with this dough. So this is what your dough will look like once it's all kneaded, nice and smooth. Remember, you want to keep flour in your hand so the dough doesn't stick to it. So once you have this nice ball of dough, we're going to take our pot. It's mainly just a storage vessel today. No, we're not going to be cooking in it, but I've already greased the edges so we can put the dough in. Put it in there. Make sure that all sides are oiled nice and well. And then we're going to take a towel. Towel from out of frame. Nice. So we're going to take a towel and we're going to put it over top. Just going to put it in the warm. So today it's a very cold day, so we're going to put it in the warmest part of the house so it can rise to double its size. And that should take around an hour or an hour and a half. But once it starts to rise, we're going to push it back down again. I'll show that later. But we're going to move it into the warmest part of the house. So see you in about an hour. Okay, so it's been a little over an hour and a half, and we have our dough is risen. So let's take a look. So this is what it looks like. It's nice and puffed up. So we're with floured hands, we're gonna take it around from the side. We're gonna roll it over like so. And I'll flip it, and that's what we need to do. Really, just gonna consolidate it, make it up into a ball again. And we're going to put it back in the middle, cover it, and leave it again for close to another half hour. Okay, so it's been like another 30 minutes. Your dough is risen again. It should look like this. And now, I'll punch it down one more time. Let me get a little bit of flour on my fingers before I do that. I'll punch it down one more time. Gotta get unstuck. Remember, always keep some flour on your fingers so it doesn't stick. It's just very annoying. So now we're gonna take our knife, we're gonna pull this dough so elastic, we're gonna cut little pieces of the dough. We're gonna make our shapes. So one shape we can make is the twist. The twist is very simple. You take out one about the size of your hand, you want to roll it out. So it's a nice long string like this. So a little bit longer is what you want it. A little bit, must be very even too. So like right now it's not very even. There's this little bottleneck thing here and there's big round ends. So
Explain that again.
what? Okay, so once you have your dough like this, put it down, you're going to make a simple twist. So just going to put one over the other and then over the other like this. So like that. Nice twist. You might want to open it up a little bit here at the middle. There, that's your twist. Put that there. Just want to put on some parchment or something like that, some wax paper, just so it doesn't stick when it's cooking. That's just to prevent it from sticking, like I said, and then also so it can cook properly. Just going to take some more dough, We're going to make another twist. So once again, you gotta roll it out. Have to be nice and even when you roll it out. So now you have it nice and long like this. You can make another twist. One over the other, one over the other. Like that. There's another twist. This one's a little bit longer, so on the same piece of parchment. And another shape you can make is, like I mentioned earlier, with the New Year's pretzel. We're gonna make a pretzel. That's we'd normally only make the pretzel shapes around New Year's for the New Year's pretzel and be just one big pretzel, but I'm going to show you guys how to make a small one. So I want a larger piece because it's going to be twisting more. So have a piece like this. Remember, always fire your hands, fire your surface. Doesn't want anything to stick. So we're going to roll it out. So then, once you have a nice long piece like this, you're going to want to make the pretzel. So it's take it in around itself, and you want to twist it once, and then put it around the edges like that. Sure, it's like that, and you want to push these pieces together. Make sure all the pieces, so holes. Yeah, there's your pretzel there. So the pretzels we'd make for New Year's would be normally a lot larger. It'd be maybe 4 times the size of this. It'd be a very, very large pretzel. It'd be covered in icing and very sweet. It'd just be very festive, and it's always a lot of fun to make and also to eat. And it was just a lot of fun. So I'm going to make another pretzel. I think I have enough room on it. So once again, fire your surface, fire your hands, don't make them stick. Very, very important. There's a bubble here. Don't want that bubble there. Pop it. So once again, to make the pretzel, you want to twist it. That's not very good. Don't want those bubbles, so you can just pop it. That's mainly due to the yeast creating those air pockets. So. And there's our other pretzel here. I'm going to put this one on there. Like that. There you go. And we still have a little bit of dough left. You can make another shape if you want, or you can just make a normal loaf. One other shape that we make is a coil, and it's just like a simple wraparound itself, kind of like a cinnamon roll or something like that. You just keep twisting around from the inside out. Probably the simplest to make out of all of them. Not that any of them are really hard to make, but as you can see, mine aren't as nice looking as some other ones. Like my Nani, she was very good at this, very adept. That just comes from years of making it, like she had. So yeah. Once again, there's another bubble there. Just pop it. So it's gonna take this, and you're gonna roll it in on itself like so. And that's how. Basically, like how you make a cinnamon roll if you make those from scratch, or a nut roll or something like that. You're gonna pinch the ends here so it sticks, it doesn't fall apart. Maybe pinch it over itself. Just don't want it to fall apart really. And then there's that. Go right there. And then you gotta make sure you have your spacing. So now we're gonna turn the oven on to 425. Okay, so we're gonna have to let them rise one more time before we put them in the oven, and that'll take a half hour or so. So we're just gonna take that same towel that you used over the pot or the bowl or whatever you used to raise it in, and just gonna put it over these. And during that time, you can use you can preheat the oven to 425 degrees. And we're just gonna let them sit for another 30 minutes or so. Let them rise in their shapes for another 30 minutes or so. So we're going to take these off, and we're going to put them in the oven at 425 degrees that we preheated earlier for around 25 minutes, or until they turn like a light golden brown on top. And these cook relatively quickly in comparison to other breads, so you're going to have to keep checking it, make sure that you don't burn them. Okay, so let me just check on them, and looks like they're done. So when they're done, they should be this nice golden brown color like this. So I'm just gonna put them over here on the stove top to cool. But I don't know if they are cooler. We can start making the icing. It's a really simple icing. All you need is some confectioner sugar, also known as powdered sugar, and some lukewarm water. So I'm going to start by adding a little bit of confectioner sugar to our bowl. You don't need a very large bowl because it's just kind of cut the top. Nothing, so you don't need that much icing. So we're just going to pour a little bit of this in here. And it's mainly done to consistency. Gotta get the right ratio to sugar to water. I'm gonna start by adding a little bit of sugar, maybe like that much. So like this much sugar. We're gonna add it, just pour some water in there. And we're gonna mix it up until everything's dissolved. So that's still relatively liquidy, so you're going to add more sugar. You got to keep doing this process, as boring as it may seem, until you get the right consistency. So, once again, still very watery. You're going to have to add more sugar. Still very watery. Still gonna have to add more sugar. You can hear it when you mix it. It's very, very weird sounding. But no, I like the sound. It's weird. So it may look thicker, but it still drips like the liquid, so you have to add more sugar. When it starts to get like this, you should add sugar in smaller increments so you don't make it too thick, and then you might add too much water, and so it's just going to be harder if you add too much sugar. My nanny, she never measured this. She didn't even measure for this really either. She just kind of knew how to do it, and this is the way we've always done it. As tedious as it may be, we've never thought it would be any good idea to measure it, but I think they get better icing this way rather than just sticking to the books. So that's one reason to keep doing it this way. So that's a good consistency there when you mix it like that. That's very good. So I'm going to put this aside for now, and let me get a spatula out of here. A spatula like this works. Rubber spatula works very well when you have to do that. So I'm going to take the pretzels, even though they may not look like it first, and ice them. So I'm going to take this, covered, just start spreading it on there. The icing, these may already be sweetbread, but icing just makes it a lot better, I think. I mean, they're already good, but this just adds like a little extra sweetness that changes it from like almost like a breakfast bread to a dessert bread and breakfast bread. So it's just a little added sweetness to the bread that everyone loves. So you just want to cover it like that, lightly. Don't want like layers upon layers of icing, just like a little layer will do. The coil turned out very well. You can see the rings and didn't come apart, so you just got a nice little top there. So we're going to ice this as well. Start in the middle, work your way out. Now, if you want to, you can always add some sprinkles or anything to the top of the icing if you want, for a little added flair and a little crunch if you want. But we mainly reserve that for the New Year's pretzel. So, but any type of sprinkles will do. We normally just use like the normal like cube sprinkles, like the red or the green ones or the blue ones. Nothing like shapes or anything. Always very simple on the New Year's pretzel. Nothing over the top. On the side, and we can start doing the twists. So these look about good. So we're going to put these over there so the icing can dry. And then we're going to move on to the twist. Twists didn't turn out all that well. The dough I may have used may have not been thin enough on the long ropes, for lack of a better word. But they're still delicious. And they're actually kind of easier to ice this way too, and having to go over all the separate twists and turns of the twist. So actually cover all of it. For Easter, one thing you might do is you put a colored egg in the top of the twist, and that's just for some extra festivity, especially around Easter time, because we wouldn't use the pretzel around Easter. That was for New Year's, so you'd use the twist or the coil and put an egg in it. That was always fun to do. But, yeah, and like how I was saying before, this is kind of like a breakfast or a dessert bread. But for breakfast, it's really good. Maybe with like a cup of coffee or some tea. Or if you really wanted to, you could put some fruits on it, like strawberries, blueberries, whatever you want. Or you can just have it plain like this. Maybe some orange juice or something. It's just a really sweet way to start off your day. I really like eating it for breakfast, and it's also really good for dessert as well.